Growing up in the early 2000s, I had plenty of sick video games to play, a lot of them being enjoyable, others not so much, and a smaller few that are so rad they have cemented themselves in the annals of history and have become some of my all-time favorites, arguably shaping me into the person I am today. But maybe this next part is coming from a place of ignorance, or as an outsider of the generational joke explained as, you really had to be there to get it. I don't really click with NES titles hailed as classics. I tried to get into these forefathers of game design, but playing them feels more like their enjoyment comes from, whoa, blast from the past, man, compared to playing them because I really like them on their own merits. But it's in moments like these where I begin to think, is it just something I'll never understand? The memories cued by 8-bit graphics that take you back to, instead of the game that creates that magic, the past coming back in the most delicate shade of rose-tinted glasses, reminding you of how sick life was at that time. And if you hadn't experienced it, that feeling is lost on you, trapped in the melancholy of what could be. Then in 2014, I played Shovel Knight, a video game attempting to capture the magic of the NES, and nah, turns out this game is rad. Shovel Knight follows the story of, what a surprise, Shovel Knight. In the past, our hero and his partner Shield Knight were the coolest duo in all of the land. One day, while exploring the Tower of Fate, a cursed amulet releases destructive magic. When Shovel Knight comes to, Shield Knight is missing and the tower has been sealed. Shovel Knight is devastated at his partner's disappearance, so he takes on a life of solitude to grieve. But when the nefarious enchantress and her villainous knights of the Order of No Quarter appear across the land, our hero readies his shovel in the name of justice to protect the land and rescue Shield Knight. Now steal thy shovel and fight. While Shovel Knight is a game going for the nostalgia of the 8-bit era of video games, it's a platformer that is so good in its own right that it surpasses its inspirations and can be a timeless classic for anyone. A huge claim, I know, but dude, you gotta play Shovel Knight and then you'll know exactly what I mean. So many amazing, wonderful, and utterly perfect choices blend into this delicious experience that is Shovel Knight. Okay, the best way I can articulate this to you, the charming viewer, is to begin by highlighting the visual and audio aspects of Shovel Knight, as these are the aspects you'll be engaging with in this video. The game uses an 8-bit art style and chiptune music to capture the era it's going for, and it's a treat for the eyes and the ears. Starting with the visual department, the sprites for the game are fantastic. Even minor characters are given the same level of treatment, making every character look distinct and interesting. One aspect I love about the game's visual aesthetic is its illusion of depth. So in a lot of visual art, especially in landscapes, 3 different types of layers can be used to create art that looks interesting and complex. The 3 are the foreground, the middle ground, and the background. Their placement in visual art is in their name. And what's great about the visuals of Shovel Knight is that the stages use this technique, creating something visually interesting, clear, and understandable for the player to follow. In the foreground, the ground is a striking color that will catch your attention, visually communicating that you will move to. Meanwhile, the middle and background will have contrasting colors that are usually darker, not distracting you from the platforms you'll move on, but to blend in and make the stage look cool. A great example is the King Knight stage, where the foreground is colored gold, the middle ground is green, and the background is purple with gray clouds. The green helps make the gold pop, indicating where the player can traverse. And while not an entire stage, one of my favorite visuals of the game is the forest campfire after a dream sequence. Using just a few colors, it creates a beautiful composition and a tone of a quiet moment before progressing on your adventure. But if we're talking about stuff that makes you feel adventurous, it would be a crime worthy of the Stockade, not to mention Shovel Knight's soundtrack. This OST was composed by Jake Kaufman, and it's a fun listen, even outside of playing the game. Many tracks add to the idea that you're on an adventure and doing the best you can. The track for the first stage is called Strike the Earth and is a great example of this. Here, take a listen and decide for yourself. The soundtrack of Shovel Knight has plenty of bops to keep up the excitement of playing the game. Here's a short list of my personal favorites. I'll find a way to sneak them into this video. But besides the sick art and audio, the gameplay of Shovel Knight is polished to a near blinding sheen. Being Shovel Knight, the master of the spade, you have a standard but fun move of slashing, which acts as a normal attack, but also can dig piles of dirt and other substances for treasure. But you also have one of the coolest moves for a platforming character, the shovel drop. If you hold the button to move down mid-air, Shovel Knight will position his shovel to face downward, and if you make contact with an enemy, it will deal damage and you'll bounce in the air. This move is a total blast to use. While not the first game to use something like it, it's a fun move that adds options for combat, and the shovel drop can be used for traversal too, giving personality to Shovel Knight's moveset as a platforming character. Besides the elongated scoop stick, you can also obtain relics as additional gadgets to aid you on your journey. There are some extra stages where these relics are necessary, but I was impressed with how often I would use them, even outside of necessity. As noted in the section of the book Blood, Sweat, and Pixels, the developers were trying to figure out Shovel Knight's difficulty. Would it be challenging, like how NES games were perceived to be, or a more lax experience? What they came down to was the player deciding how difficult the gameplay would be. To make this possible, there are two main aspects. The first is the already mentioned relics, which can be used to make traversal easier on most stages, such as the phase locket, making you invulnerable for a short amount of time, or the propeller dagger, allowing you to fly through the air horizontally to pass gaps, or the gear, giving a moving platform for an extra amount of distance before jumping. And the second is how checkpoints are optional. So when you pass a checkpoint, you'll see gems inside the glass. If you shatter it, the gems are yours. But that checkpoint is now unavailable to you for the rest of that stage. So if you die, you'll go back much further when you try again. It's a risk versus reward system that lets you decide how hard you want the game to be. This is such a rad idea, and because the game is so meticulously crafted, if you die, it's pretty clear what killed you, and you can learn from your mistake. After a few more tries, of course. I believe Shovel Knight strikes that tricky balance between enjoyment and being challenging, which is hugely commendable. Okay, so I've talked about the presentation and gameplay of Shovel Knight, and this is where I talk about deal-breaker aspects of the game. But much like Redline, this is one I'm having a difficult time doing so, because every nitpick I have with Shovel Knight has a counter already built in. Such as, if you keep dying on a stage and losing significant amounts of gold, you can just quit the level and everything is returned before the stage. The game is short, but there are also collectibles to find cool rewards, like music sheets allowing you to listen to some bangers in town. Additionally, a New Game Plus option allows you to carry all of your stuff from your last playthrough, and enemies hit a lot harder. And if there's a section that's too difficult, most problems can be made more accessible with relics or sheer force of will and a shovel bounce. So in place of a deal breaker section, I want to highlight an aspect that is a considerable factor of enjoyment with Shovel Knight. This game is incredibly charming. It's read and internalized Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People with an authentic personality and sense of humor that I can get behind. This section is basically going to be me gushing about details that charm the pants off me with this game. Let's begin, and Maestro, if you would. The bosses of this game are the Order of No Quarter, fellow knights with their personalities named after concepts or stuff like Mole Knight, Polar Knight, Specter Knight, etc. One of them is called King Knight. It makes no sense, and I love that. They also speak in puns. If you stand still and keep tapping the button to move down, Shovel Knight will bop, and it looks like he's dancing. In the armor outpost, there's a bunch of nobles in a hat shop. If you give them money, you can get a secret boss with a fellow with an insatiable desire to get your helmet. If you beat him, he gives an awkward apology and leaves. But if you explore the town, you can find him again and he's like, "Oh no, what are you doing here? I said I was sorry." He'll give you more money and then make for the nearest exit. Or does he? If you buy a chalice from an acolyte spreading the good word, you can visit the pond of the Tropical King, praise be his name, and he'll do a little dance to fill it, acting like a potion. Long may he reign. You can buy an upgrade that makes your armor gold. It doesn't give any defensive boosts, but when you jump, you can do sick flips now. There's an old lady in the first town that will use magic to tell you in-game stats like playtime, number of deaths, piles dug, etc. And Shovel Knight will say, "Thanks for helping me, witch," and she'll respond, "I'm not a witch." I love this game so much. I could mention many other details, but I have to hold myself back so you can find them yourself. So, if you've played this game already, I'm sure you've noticed there's a big point I haven't mentioned yet, and I've intentionally withheld that for this moment. Shovel Knight was a video game funded by Kickstarter, a website where people can donate money for projects they're interested in. Shovel Knight had plenty of stretch goals and promises for those backing it. It came out in 2014 and was a huge commercial success for Yacht Club Games, becoming a gaming darling with guest appearances in other indie projects. The team had made it, but there were still other promises they mentioned in their Kickstarter. I think many people would have taken the money and run. They made the game and it was a huge success, and they could be considered done and put their promised features in a sequel. But Yacht Club Games didn't. They stuck to their word. Years after the game was released, they were still updating and working on it. Until 2019, when fully released as a content update for those who purchased it, Shovel Knight Treasure Trove, featuring 3 other campaigns with altered levels, new stories, gameplay mechanics, and playable characters. Even releasing a 4-player platform fighting game called Shovel Knight Showdown, and I feel it appropriate to mention, as someone who bought the original Shovel Knight when it first came out, all this content was given to players entirely for free. If you buy Treasure Trove, all the content will come with it. And as mentioned in the fantastic no-clip interview with developer David D'Angelo, each campaign has a different focus. Shovel of Hope, the original game, is focused on the hero's journey. Plague of Shadows is a romance involving the brilliant and shy Plague Knight. Specter of Torment is a drama focused on Specter Knight, and King of Cards is a comedy featuring my boy King Knight. And of course, that interview will be linked in the description. It's a great watch. I haven't beaten all of these yet, but I will definitely try them all in the future. Maybe I'll make a video on them. We'll see. With over 4 different campaigns, finely polished gameplay, and incredible charm, Shovel Knight Treasure Trove is absolutely worthy of a Macho recommendation. Yacht Club Games deserves a tremendous amount of credit for their work on this, and for making an all-time classic video game, proving the universal concept that a fantastic video game is timeless in its own right, no matter what it seeks to emulate. If you decide to give Shovel Knight Treasure Trove a shot, I really hope you enjoy it, and thanks for checking out this video. I'll link a playlist to some other video game recommendations I've made, and here's a video you might be into. Thanks for watching, and take care of yourself.